So, dear friends, let's first of all listen to 3 sounds of the bell and come back to our breathing. Like in the beautiful chant we just listened to, coming back to our body, coming back to our breath, and really arriving in this new moment. Dear Thai, dear elder sisters and brothers, dear friends, is no problem. 17th of April 2025, and we are in the Assembly of Stars Meditation Hall in Lower Hamlet. So welcome to Lower Hamlet, welcome to all our Spanish. Welcome to French volunteers. Thank you for coming to help us with the Francophone retreat, and welcome to everyone. Is the sound okay? Seems to be coming and going. Is it okay? Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Is that okay now? Okay. So today I want to talk about cultivation. Many of the brothers and sisters and the lay friends, they know that I take care of the flower garden here in Lower Hamlet. This is my great joy. It's a great privilege to do this work. And I love to cultivate flowers. So I've put on the board the word in Sanskrit, bhavana. That means to cultivate. And this is a very important part of our practice. Before I met the practice, I thought that there were people who were happy, just like that. They were very lucky. And there were the ones who were unhappy, and the ones somewhere on the spectrum. I tended to put myself rather down the end of the spectrum, not very happy. And I thought, well, it's just like that. And but a real light bulb moment came for me when I came to Plum Village, to the retreats, and I heard Thai say that in fact happiness is an art and we can cultivate happiness. So this word, bhavana, it means calling. It means becoming. It's a very beautiful word because we seem to have a problem with the sound. It's a very beautiful word because apparently it's a very ordinary kind of word. And the Buddha chose to use very simple language that the people he was teaching to could understand. This word is about farming. It's about the earth. It's about planting seeds. It's things that they would have understood all about. And so, as you can see, this has a lot to do with gardening. What is very beautiful about is that if we know how to cultivate the earth, it means that no matter how damaged the earth has become, we can still enrich it and nourish it so that it can produce a harvest. And it's the same with ourselves and our practice. No matter how despairing. Yeah, so I was talking about this word cultivation. It's very empowering because it means that for the practice, if we know how to cultivate, it means that we can nourish ourselves. We can learn how to make those happy moments during our everyday. And these little moments of joy will join together to make a deeper happiness, which will build our emotional resilience. So, as I said, I'm going to be talking quite a lot about flowers today because I really love flowers, and spring is such a wonderful season, a season for beginner's mind, because new things are always coming out of the earth. If you're a gardener, you know that this is such a joyful time. Plants that have died down over the winter, with the warmer days, with the rain, we suddenly see the green shoots coming up, and it brings so much hope. It brings a smile when we see those first flowers coming. So as you can hear, gardening is my passion, and flowers bring me a huge amount of joy to spend time to contemplate a flower. I always have some flowers on my altar where I sit and drink my tea in the morning, to just be there with that flower. When I first came to Plum Village, one of the meditations I really loved, and I still use it a lot, is the pebble meditation. I'm sure many of you know that meditation. So I thought, let's just do the first part, which is talking about flowers, because it's about taking care of our freshness. And this is such an important part of our practice. Can I take care of my freshness? When I spent a year taking care of my elderly parents during the pandemic, I can tell you that that was an important part of my practice. When you're locked down with your parents, you need to take care of your freshness. So I want you all to just close your eyes for a moment and think of your favorite flower. You can imagine it, or maybe a flower that you've looked at recently. And as you visualize that flower, you can just say to yourself, breathing in, I feel like that flower that has no projects. It has nothing to do. All it has to do is just be beautiful. And breathing out, I feel the freshness of that flower. Breathing in, I feel like that flower. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Breathing out, I feel fresh. And this is a wonderful practice for when we're feeling rather overwhelmed. We have a lot of things going on, is to practice being like a flower. That flower growing in the flower bed or in the field. It has absolutely nothing to do but simply be beautiful, to be itself, and to get in touch with that quality of aimlessness is very healing. So we have to stop so that we can heal. If we are continually running towards that carrot that we've put in front of ourselves, there is no way that we will be able to heal. I remember when I was still a lay friend, at one time of my life, I lived in the foothills of the Alps. That was a wonderful gift I offered myself. And I used to walk a lot along the sides of the mountain rivers. And I remember one time, one of my favorite paths in the winter, walking along the side of the river. And there's a sort of a plain, a floodplain. And the local farmers have grown orchards either side of the river. They know that the soil there is very rich, full of minerals. And I was walking, and I noticed that even though the farmers had been pruning the trees, cutting the trees to improve the crop, in one orchard there was this old dead tree. It was the trunk was hollow and even split, so that you could see right through the tree. It was rather beautiful, but I thought, why have they left that there? This dead tree in the middle of a thriving orchard. But anyway, I carried on. And then a few months later, it was the spring, and the mountain river was full of that wonderful colour of water when it's full of the snow melts water as the snow is melting. And as I was walking along this river, and I came round a bend in the river, and suddenly I saw that dead tree. It was covered in blossom. Out of the black bark was coming cherry blossom. And you could even see right through the tree to other trees beyond, full of blossom. And at that moment, it was such a mindfulness bell. It was a bell, stop, and I just stopped in my tracks. And in that moment, there was a very deep understanding, went right down, dans mes tripes, as we say in French, right into my stomach, into my belly. And I realized that healing is possible. Joy is possible. Even in these dark moments, the blossom can come forth. And that reminds me of a beautiful line from the chant that was just chanted this morning. A single drop of this compassionate nectar is enough to bring back the spring to mountains and to rivers. Maybe we can just listen to the sound of the bell. So it's so important to know how to stop so that we can be there for these moments of joy, which are all around us, the wonder in nature. But if we're not there for these moments, they're not there for us. So how to wake up to be there for these moments of joy. One of the things that I've learned to do in Plum Village is to keep a joy diary. And I find this very useful. Every evening before I go to sleep, I write down, in fact, I challenge myself, what are 3 moments of joy I've had today? And it's a good exercise because we learn what are the things that bring us joy. being a monastic, I can tell you it's not receiving a check in the post. It's not winning a competition. But it'll be those small moments, like that butterfly that came and landed on the flower there. It will be the kind words of a sister. It will be these small moments, nothing big, but it's these small moments that build up to make a big happiness. A joy diary is also a very good practice, because we notice, well, I notice, when I don't have anything to write and I think, oops, I'm not taking care of my joy. Joy is draining away. I'm not noticing. I need to start practicing. And so I have a checklist. I have a joy checklist, which I thought I would like to share with you this morning. And this is a checklist I use when I feel not much joy around, to see, where are the areas in my life that I need to start looking at? In fact, this checklist, it comes from meta-analysis of some of the masses of research there is into happiness, some of the common elements that researchers have found that people who are happy, the ways that they practice. So, my checklist. And what is rather wonderful, that the scientists have realized that noticing, that being mindful, is a big element of happiness. So, the scientists have realized what the Buddha discovered 2,600 years ago. So we can ask ourselves, where is my attention directed? And what is the impact of that on my mind, on my body? And one of the great patriarchs was asked many centuries ago, why do you practice Zen? And his answer was, it's so that I notice the little flowers along the side of the road. So do we notice those flowers? Or are we completely lost in our thoughts about the past, or worrying and planning for the future? Sometimes, maybe some of you gardeners, you are similar to me, we love to plan our garden. We have so much to do, and there's a timeline. We need to get things in before the summer comes. When we see it's going to rain, we want to get these things planted so that the heavens can water the plants for us. And I must admit that sometimes in meditation, I'm so attached to a project, I so want to think about it. I think, okay, think about it. I let myself think about it. But what is interesting, what I've learned, is that when I sit there thinking about my project, I notice my body is getting more and more tense. I notice the intensity in my head. I notice I'm getting a knot in my stomach. And finally I realize this is really unpleasant. I don't want to be doing this. And so that's a very good learning. I notice the grasping, the wanting to get something, to get a result, to get a goal. And this has a big impact on my body. And so this gives me a lot of motivation now, that when I'm come to sitting, even though, I'd love to think about this project, I think, not now, another time. So to be able to stop, as many of our friends, you've been learning this week, we have wonderful tools to help us remember to stop. We have the bell. Whenever we hear the bell, we come back to our body. How am I standing? Just noticing our posture. Or how am I sitting? What's going on in my mind? Am I here, or am I hundreds of miles away? Am I in the future, the past? And it's an opportunity to come back to this moment, to come back to our breath, to allow the tension to drop away. And so I want to encourage all of those of you who will be going home tomorrow, when you get back home, to find that bell of mindfulness in your everyday life. And you can be creative. One time I was living near a railway line, and there was a train every 15 minutes. That was a wonderful bell of mindfulness. Every time the train went past, I challenged myself to stop and to breathe. And often I would think of all the people on the train going to work, going to visit people, and I would send them compassionate energy. Or it might be a red light. I used to live in Paris, and I would cycle to work in Paris. And for those cyclists amongst you, I'm sure I'm not the only one. Sometimes when we're in a bit of a hurry, we think, oh, no one's looking, we go across. But when I heard of this practice that Thai recommended to us, I thought, okay, I'm going to stop at the red light. I'm going to stop and I'm going to breathe. And it's a wonderful practice, especially if you're in a car as well. You don't even need to have a little rest, but you can just come back to your body, get into neutral gear, rest your arms, and just come back to your breathing and rest. Rest those few moments instead of gripping the steering wheel, ready to dash off as soon as the light changes. And another practice I added onto that, if you're cycling in Paris, is generally we stop at a pedestrian crossing. Is I would stop, I would come back to my breathing and offer a smile to the people who are passing. There aren't many smiles in big cities, and that is something you can offer. And if people look at you with a frown, they don't give you a smile back, those are the people who need the smile the most. So you just keep on smiling. So maybe you live near a church and there will be a church bell, or you could put the sound of a bell on your computer so that it regularly comes up. Or if you don't want the sound, you can have some kind of visual image that comes up if you're working on the computer for most of the day, so that will be your bell to stop, to come back to your breathing, notice your body, notice your breathing, and give yourself a rest. Maybe we can do that with the sound of the bell. And when we're mindful, we're always mindful of something. And so, as I was just saying, one of the first things that we can put our attention to is to our body. What's going on inside our body? Where is there tension? Coming back to our breathing. As we breathe and follow our breath for 3 breaths, you will feel your whole body start to relax. And then we can also be mindful of what is going on around us. So inside us and around us. Mindful of this person in front of us who wants our attention, who wants to be seen and heard. Or mindful of this beautiful flower, or this beautiful tree, or the sound of the birds. All these moments that will bring joy to us if we are here for them. Another way we can stop is by using some of our gathas, the little poems. There's a gatha which I enjoy very much, which I use every morning when I first step out into the world. I love to step out into the fresh air, And we have a gatter for opening the window, but I use it for stepping out into the world. So it goes like this. Stepping out into the world, I look out on the Dharmakaya. That means all the things around me in this beautiful world. How wonderful life is. Attentive to every moment. My mind is slow. No, my mind is calm, like a slow river. And I imagine one of those huge rivers, very wide, and my mind is slowing down. And as I start to walk, to go to the meditation hall, I'm already walking slowly, like that slow river. And another one, also about water. When we're turning on the tap, or when we're putting water into the kettle to make our tea in the morning, water comes from high mountains. Water flows deep under the earth. Water comes right to us to support all life. My gratitude is vast. When I remember to use that gatter, immediately gratitude comes up. I haven't got to walk miles to get to a well. I have clean drinking water, which is right here. In this way, we are transforming our neutral feelings into happy feelings. And so we are creating moments of happiness, moments of joy. When we start to drink our tea or to drink that glass of water, I remember seeing a documentary once about the huge reserves of fresh water that there are on this planet. I think the second biggest reserve is the Congo River, where this huge amount of fresh water is in that river, or in the Amazon, that's the biggest one, at any moment. And so as I'm drinking my tea, I'm thinking, wow, I'm drinking the Congo River. How many times has this water flowed down the Congo or the Amazon, and it's coming into my body? It's incredible. It's amazing. And Thai would say, we can look at the cloud in our tea. So by waking up with gathas, we can create moments of happiness and joy in our everyday life. It requires some motivation to do this, because we know that our minds are hardwired to look out for what's wrong. Of course, it was very important for us as human mammals to look out for danger. But now, luckily, there isn't so much danger around. But unfortunately, our mind is still trained to look for all the things that need correcting or changing. And so we need to develop this good habit of seeing joy, of creating joy. There's a lovely image Thai gives us of, it's like looking out onto a garden. Again, all the gardeners amongst you, you'll recognize this. When we look at our garden, how much time do you spend thinking, oh, that needs doing, oh, this is sick, there's a disease, there's green fly on the roses. Instead of thinking, oh, look at all the plants and the flowers that are blossoming, that are beautiful, that are good enough. And we have to train our mind to go towards what is positive. And beware if you're waiting for those happy moments to come. Thai would say to us, have you had the happiest day in your life yet? That's quite a challenge. And then the next sentence is even more radical. If you haven't had it yet, you're probably not going to have it. That's a real wake-up call. When we can really start waking up for those happy moments, those stream of small happy moments all throughout the day, then at the end of the day, we can really say, wow, this has been a really happy day. And we won't have to wait for that happiness to arrive. We're actually seeing that it's there and available. Joy and happiness is possible. Also beware of having ideas about your happiness. What you need for you to be happy. I need to pass that exam. I need to be accepted for this job. I need to buy this house or get this gadget. Because those very things we feel are so important can actually be the obstacles to our happiness. Maybe if we don't get that job, maybe if we don't get accepted into that university, we do something else and we think, oh, thank goodness I didn't get that job. It can actually be a gift, and so not to be attached. We already have so many conditions for our happiness. So maybe we can listen to a sound of the bell and you can just bring your mind to what are all the conditions you have already in your life to be happy, including being in this hall together, practicing together. So we've looked at the first area, which is being mindful, waking up to what already is there. And the second zone that we can look at is community. We know that human beings, we are a social species, but unfortunately there are many people who suffer from loneliness and solitude, feeling alienated. They don't feel that they belong to any kind of community. Maybe their family is dysfunctional. They've lost touch with their family. And this is one of the greatest sufferings of people of the 21st century. So I want to offer flowers to the Spanish sangha. They know all about community. They got together and asked Plum Village to hold a retreat for them, so they know what sangha is all about. So flowers to the Spanish sangha. And I remember my first wake-up call about what community, what being together is about, and how joyful that is one of the first retreats I came to in Plum Village, and we were doing some kind of work outside. I think we were carrying buckets of something. And I thought, well, I can carry this bucket, it's not too heavy. And a sister came to me and she said, oh, let's carry that bucket together. And I said, it's okay, I can carry it, it's not too heavy. And she said, oh, but it's so much more fun to carry it together. I thought, oh, okay. And she was right. And I've never forgotten that to do things together, even if we think, I'm tough, I can do this, but to do it together is so much more pleasant, it's so much more fun. And this was such a big lesson for me about sharing and being in community. Many of you who have come here for this week, you've been bathing in the collective energy of the Sangha. And the sisters of Lower Hamlet, we were very lucky yesterday. We watched half an hour of a talk by Thai, which was very inspiring. And he was talking about when our retreatants come to Plum Village, even if their practice is not so strong, the fact that they can simply take refuge in the collective energy of our sangha, all of us sitting together, the brothers, the sisters, our lay friends, our multifold sangha, sitting together, we make a field of collective energy, of peace and joy and calm. And this is the greatest gift that we can offer all of our retreatants. So already you've been touching this collective energy of community. So I really encourage all of you going home tomorrow, please find a sangha or enjoy going back to your sangha if you already have one, and to continue this practice when you go home. The sangha, being part of a sangha, it's not all joy and happiness, as some of you have seen this week, and our residents, you know for sure. The sangha is a place where we're going to have all our buttons pressed sooner or later. But this is how we grow. The sangha is like a mirror, mirrors all around us, reflecting us back to ourselves. There's no escape. And so this is how we learn about ourselves and how we can practice to transform. The sangha is like a bouquet of flowers. There are so many different kinds of flowers in this sangha. And of course, all these different flowers, they need different conditions. When I think about, for example, growing flowers in Lower Hamlet, growing roses here is easy. Roses love the soil here. They love the conditions. They don't need watering. They get enough water. They're very, very easy. But you try and grow an azalea here, it's just going to die. It just does not like the clay soil. So if you want azaleas, you're going to have to put it in a pot and look after that azalea in a pot of special soil. And when I think about all the different flowers there are, the creativity of our Mother Earth, it's quite extraordinary. I was reflecting on flowers that flower in the wintertime. That's quite amazing. There is a whole family of hellebore. They're called Christmas rose, and at Christmas time they flower. How could that be? How could that be when we know that normally flowers, they flower with the sun and in springtime? There is the snowdrop. In French it's a perce-neige. It comes up through the snow. How could that happen? It's a miracle. And there is the witch hazel, a tree that is in full flower in December and January. It's quite extraordinary. And then in the summer, when it gets so hot, it's hot here for us, sometimes it gets up to 40 degrees, and I'm just amazed to see flowers as delicate as the cosmos flower. It's like the petals are so fine and sensitive and delicate, and they're just sitting there in 40 degrees with the sun fresh as anything. And I think, my goodness, how do they do that? And these flowers are like our Sangha members. So it helps me to be compassionate for all the different conditions and requirements that we all have. But it makes a very diverse Sangha, which makes a very rich Sangha. If we look at the 10th of the 14 mindfulness trainings, it starts with, aware that the essence and aim of a Sangha is the practice of understanding and compassion. I remember when I was part of a Sangha, a lay Sangha before I ordained, and we had a calligraphy of that. The essence and aim of a Sangha is the practice of understanding and compassion. We will put it up there, just to remind us, why are we here together? And it's to practice that understanding. Understanding is love. We all are needing different things, we have different conditions, we come from different places, but what we are all looking for is compassion and understanding and belonging. Recently we had a silent retreat here in Lower Hamlet, and there was a very beautiful sharing at the end of that silent retreat from a young man. He said that he lives in a city and he often feels very alone, has a lot of solitude, loneliness, all the noise in the city, so many people, but so much loneliness. And yet when he was here for the whole week, in silence with so many people, he said he never felt alone the whole time, because he felt deep connection with the people here. And so it's not only through words where we feel a sense of belonging. I remember when I was a lay friend, I wanted to start a sangha, having been part of the sangha in Paris for quite a few years. When I moved down to the Alps, I wanted to start a sangha, and I asked a sister, how do I do that? And she said to me, I've never forgotten her words, she said, you're going to need a big heart. Oh. And having created a few sanghas in my time, I understand now what she meant. But building a sangha, it also brings a lot of joy. In fact, for those of you who don't have a sangha, I really encourage you to create one, because you can think that you're doing it for yourself. You're going to be the first one to receive so much joy from creating a place of refuge for your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues. And they, of course, will also receive that joy. And there was one particular thing that happened that I've never forgotten. We used to practice beginning anew once a month. And in our sangha, some of the sangha members hated that practice. They really did not like that practice. The practice is where we water the flowers. In a small sangha, generally we water everyone's flowers, because it doesn't take so much time to go around 7 or 8 people. We water their flowers and we express our regrets. But some people feel, oh, this is just flattery, it's not sincere, and I don't want to do this. But anyway, we'd say, you don't have to do it. Those who want to do it, you can do it. And in our sangha at that time, there was a woman who, I think she was probably on the autistic spectrum, and she had a lot of difficulty communicating. And often, she had a very good heart, but things would come out not quite skillfully. And she often had quite a lot of difficulty with our sangha members. And anyway, when we come to practice beginning new, she would always say, I'm not doing that. That's okay. You can just listen. That's okay. Just receive the water for your flowers. And we would start going round the circle, and people would water the flowers. They would express their gratitude for the small things that different sangha members had said, that they had done, their beautiful qualities that we appreciate, and any regrets. And as the atmosphere in the room changed with all this love and people feeling seen and heard, people's hearts melting. Because when we do the beginning anew like this, we have a vase of flowers. The person speaking has the vase of flowers, and it gets passed around. And then suddenly our friend, who has quite a bit of difficulty communicating, would say, give me that vase of flowers. And she would snatch it to her. But what we discovered was that she had an amazing talent. I think she was a poet. When she started watering flowers, she had a capacity for noticing the qualities of people, and putting it into words so skillfully. It was amazing. And so finally we discovered this extraordinary talent of our friend that we would never have known if we'd not practiced beginning anew. So just to say, whatever sangha you find near you, or whatever sangha you create yourself, whatever sangha you have is the perfect sangha for you. Don't expect this perfect sangha. Whatever difficulties you find there are exactly the right difficulties for you right now. So I really encourage you to join your local sangha. Maybe we'll listen to a sound of the bell. And so, going through our checklist of how am I doing in cultivating joy and happiness, we come to caring for our body. Our body, which is such a wonder. We heard about it from Sister Muoi Len this morning in the short meditation before the talk. And she say, breathing in, I know I have a body. And breathing out, this body is such a wonder. So are we taking care of our body? And remember that our mind is part of our body. Often, for some of us who are working on a computer most of the day, we can completely forget our body. I know that sometimes when I work in the evening to send some emails, I can sit there for 2 hours and not realize the time has gone by. So we're really recommended to have, to put that bell of mindfulness, to download it onto your computer so that we can wake up, or some kind of image that comes up, so that we can just stop, we can stand up, come back to our breathing and take care of our body. Maybe we're desperate to go to the bathroom. We didn't even notice. Maybe we need to drink some water, to come back to our body and recognize its needs. Our human body has evolved to walk many, many kilometers a day, to go hunting and gathering. But how many of us walk many kilometers every day? I have a lot of gratitude to my little dog that I used to have when I was a lay friend. And she taught me the joy of walking every day. No matter what the weather, you just get out there and go walking. And thanks to her, I developed this good habit of, it's like brushing my teeth. If I don't go for a walk, my whole body is saying, what's happening? I need to get out there. And I think what's important is don't wait until you're in the mood to go for a walk, because you might wait a very long time. Get out there, get walking, and immediately your mood changes. And we know that this has a real connection, a sedentary life. There is a lot of connection with depression. And so this is really important for any of you who know you have a tendency to get stuck in low mood, the importance of physical exercise, and particularly going out to walk in nature. When I was in Paris, I managed to work out a route cycling through some of the big parks so that I could really see nature as I was cycling along. Or if you're not cycling, then to walk through a park, to have that connection with nature. At lunchtime, to go and sit in the park and eat your lunch under a tree. We receive so much from nature, And so the importance is to open our mind, open our body, to receive the energy from this beautiful planet to nourish us. So during the pandemic, as I mentioned, I was staying. I had the very great fortune that the sangha allowed me to stay for 1 year with my very elderly parents, to be locked down with them. So it was extremely important for me to go out for my walk every morning before breakfast. And it was during those morning walks, thanks to those walks, the same walk I did for over a year, that I really fell in love with Mother Earth. I really had that deep experience. I would walk to what is called in England a common. Each village would have common land, an area that even from medieval times, all the village people had the right to go and graze their donkey or their cow on this common land, and it was owned and looked after by the whole village. And many villages in England still have their common land. And so I would go to, our little village is called Sheet. I would go to Sheet. Oh, somebody knows Sheet. Hey, hands up for Sheet. I would go to Sheet Common, and there are these oaks there that are like 600-700 years old, enormous. You would need 3 people to get your arms around them. And I would go and walk by the side of the oaks, by the side of the river, every morning. And to have that regular practice, a walking meditation, of seeing how the seasons are changing, from the winter, when the oak is completely bare of leaves, and longing for the shoots to come with spring, and then to see the first baby shoots come, the first baby, so tender little leaves coming. And then, a miracle, an oak tree in flower. I never noticed an oak tree in flower before. And then, a while later, oh no, there's a disease on this oak tree. How am I going to cope with this? What should I do? These little growths, these tiny little pinhead-shaped growths everywhere. And when I look closely, these little growths, as I say, the size of a pinhead, were acorns. They were acorns. And each day they grew. And it was really magical. And as autumn came and the acorns dropped with the leaves, to walk on the crunching acorns, to follow the whole season with the oak trees, is to really be able to take refuge in our beautiful planet. And when we have love for the planet that's as deep as that, that gives us so much energy. That is the place that we have energy to be able to protect our planet, to go and practice our activism, because this love is sustainable. Our planet is giving us so many beautiful things to nourish us. So we are motivated, we want to give back. We're not acting from a place of despair and anger and hatred, but from a place of deep love that just keeps coming because it's nourished by everything we can see out there. And so when we can feel this joy of walking, of running, of doing whatever exercise, using our body, it's really important to just take a moment when we finished moving our body around to stop, to come back to our breathing and feel, how do I feel after doing yoga? What is my body telling me? How do I feel when I get back from my walk? And when we get in touch with all the cells of it in our body, dancing with happiness because they've been out there, they've been exercising, they have oxygen, they've detoxified. That is going into our body memory, and it's feeding our motivation to do it again tomorrow. So when tomorrow comes, you're not feeling so motivated, just remember how happy you felt when you came back from your walk or when you finished doing your yoga. So a question that we can all ask ourselves, because we are sovereigns of our sovereignty, the kingdom of our body. How is my kingdom doing? So maybe we can listen to a sound of the bell. So just another thing I wanted to mention is when we become intimate with nature, one of the other things that we notice when we go out into nature is the birds, the song of the birds. Who has started hearing the nightingale singing? They started last week. Yeah. Yes, wonderful. Please listen out for the nightingales. Who has heard the cuckoo? Yay. When we hear the cuckoo, that is Thai. That's his telephone saying, cuckoo. He's speaking to us. But unfortunately, there's one sound of the bird that we don't hear so much, that makes me feel very sad in the summer. Normally, the sound of summer in the south of France, or maybe a little bit everywhere in France, would be the sound of the swifts. Who knows the sound of the swift? Yeah. Those are these extraordinary birds who go wheeling round very high up. In fact, their Latin name, apus, apus, it means no feet, because people believe they had no feet before, because they spend months flying without ever landing anywhere. They do everything on the air, drinking, eating, making love. It's quite extraordinary. And so that's why our ancestors thought they had no feet. But unfortunately, now that, in fact, these birds, they used to live in little holes in the cliffs. This is where they would build their nests. But centuries ago, they found that to come and live near humans was a wonderful thing to do, because we have barns, we have these tall buildings in the countryside, and they can come and live. And so over the centuries, they have learned that they can come and live near humans. We can live together. But unfortunately, many of those barns have been changed into bijou residences and meditation halls and, and these kinds of things. And so there are very few places left for these birds. So, because of falling in love with Mother Earth, and we have the energy to want to protect Mother Earth, we have in Lower Hamlet, during our lazy days, we have built some swift nesting boxes. So I challenge you to look around the hamlet for the nesting boxes, and I encourage you to build some when you get back home, so that we can help take care of that population. There is a man in England who had this love of swifts, and he has made tens of thousands of these boxes, and he has brought back up the population of swifts in England. So through love of all the beauty of our planet, it gives us the energy to do something. So please look out for our swift boxes. So another area we can look into to see if if we're running out of joy and happiness, we can check, are we learning anything? Are we studying? We know that the Dharma has 84,000 doors, so there are many, many doors that we can approach the Dharma. There are so many practices, and we can continue to learn throughout our whole life. And the first analect of Confucius is, isn't it a pleasure, having learnt something, to put it into practice? So I'm really hoping that for those of you who have spent a week in Plum Village or longer, that you have really learnt during this week about how to take care of your suffering. Thai would always say, when we know how to suffer, we will suffer less. There is an art to suffering. So have you learned how to take care of your strong emotions? When we go back out into the world, there will be challenges. We can't think that there will be no more suffering, having come for a week in Plum Village. So we need to know how to practice. The first thing we do when a button is touched, when that feeling comes up, of anger, of despair, of sadness, of jealousy, something that's very difficult to receive, rather than think, I don't want that to be there, and then immediately turning on the phone, going to the fridge, turning on the internet, whatever our habit usually is, we're going to recognize it. Hello, my suffering. Ouch, it hurts. Hello, my suffering. I know you're there. And then, like a mother with her crying baby, we're going to embrace it. If the baby is crying, a mother is not going to put the baby in a different room. She's going to immediately pick it up, get close to it. And that's what we do. We recognize our suffering is there, and then we embrace it with our presence. The moment the baby feels our presence, immediately its nervous system starts to relax. It starts to feel better because mother is near or father is near. So we recognize our suffering and we ask ourselves these questions. What am I feeling? What is this feeling? Where is it in my body? Is it intensity in my head? Is it a stab in my heart? Is it my tummy in a knot? Is it my shoulders up by my ears? So we ask ourselves those questions. What, where, how? What am I feeling? Where is it in my body? How does that feel? Is it sharp? Is it a pulsing? Is it a grip? Is it cold? Is it hot? We get curious. And that whole process of getting curious about body sensations has a wonderful effect. It is like the Zen sword. It cuts through the thinking. Instead of us getting into the question that we don't go to, why is this happening to me? Why did they do that? Why did they say that? We don't go there. We don't, because that will be a loop of thinking that can go on for hours or days or years. We don't go there. We go to the what, where, and how. What is happening in my body? And we stay present for it. We don't push it away. We embrace it. It's okay, my little anger, my little fear. I'm here for you. I'm going to take care of you. We embrace it. We offer our presence. We come back to our breathing. Breathing with my fear. Breathing with the knot in my tummy. I know you're here. It's okay. It's okay. In this moment, everything is okay. And then we accept and we allow as best we can. Can we allow that feeling to be there? Can we befriend it? Can we smile to that anger? Hello, my anger, I know you're there, I'm going to take care of you. It's okay. Right now it's okay. And we smile. And practicing like this wherever you are, in the office, around the family dinner table, wherever you are, by practicing this recognizing, embracing, allowing, we can learn, we develop this good habit, learning to soothe, to self-soothe our nervous system, that we can take care of that strong emotion. And as we develop that good habit, and we repeat it over and over each time those strong emotions come up, we see, oh, it works. Our practice gets stronger, and we develop faith. We have more and more faith that this works. And the more faith we have, the more we develop non-fear. And we realize that healing is possible. We can really be there for these difficult moments. We have the capacity to do this. And that everything is workable. When we practice meditation, we say that it's like a bird with two wings. There is one wing, which is the stopping, which is I've just explained. We stop and we take care. But the other wing is the deep looking. We need to also take the time when we've calmed that hot emotion, when we're feeling stronger, when we have learned how to look deeply into the suffering, when we have help, maybe from the sangha, we can start looking more deeply into the roots of our suffering. So the kind of learning that we learn in Plum Village is not intellectual learning. We're not. It's not like a Buddhist university where we learn the sutras by heart and all this kind of thing. We are applied Buddhism. We are engaged Buddhism. We put it into practice. And there is a lovely story Tai used to tell about putting what we're learning into practice. It's like the story of a man who was sick, and he went to a doctor and explained about his sickness, the symptoms, and the doctor listened with sympathy, and he said, okay, so here's the prescription. He wrote out the prescription and gave it to him. And the man, he said, well, this is wonderful, I have a prescription, incredible. He went home and he put it on the mantelpiece, and he sat and looked at it. This is wonderful. But the days go past and he didn't feel better as he sat and looked at the prescription. And so he went back to the doctor and said, this isn't working, it's not working. And he said, well, what did you do? And he said, well, I put the prescription on the mantelpiece and it's there, but nothing's changing. He said, oh, you have to eat it. So you can imagine what happened. He goes home and he eats the prescription. And then he waits for a few days and still nothing happening. And he has to go back to the doctor and then realizes you don't eat the prescription, you get the medicine and you take the medicine. So what you've been learning in Plum Village, it's not intellectual knowledge. It's not the knowledge that will help, it's putting it into practice. So we need to practice with intelligence. And while we are practicing for ourselves and we are healing ourselves, we are practicing for all our ancestors. We are practicing for the whole of society, not just for ourselves. And by learning how to transform our own difficulties, our suffering, it means that by transforming, we are not continuing to transmit them to others. So we can listen to a sound of the bell. So coming back to my body, I realize I need to move, so maybe I will write something on the board. So, the fifth zone we can look into if we feel our joy is disappearing and needs some attention is generosity and gratitude. Am I able to be generous to myself? Can I offer presence to myself, to be there for myself, to listen to myself? And when we develop that presence and compassion for ourselves, we are able to offer that presence to others. And we don't have to wait. We can do both. They inter-are, offering our presence to others. So for those of you going home tomorrow, I really offer you the challenge when you go back into your life. Can you offer the same kind of listening and presence to your family, to your work colleagues, that you've been learning to do here, maybe in the sharing circles? I know for myself, when I used to come on retreat here, this was the challenge I set myself. In Paris, if I got on a bus, could I, as I sit down, just turn to the person next to me and say, "Good morning," like you would do here? To bring that kind of connection to people in the city that we've been learning here, to be able to offer that presence to those around us, to offer the listening that you've been learning in the circle sharing, that kind of presence and listening so that people feel seen and heard. Can we offer that to those around us? And gratitude is a wonderful source of happiness. If we feel our joy and happiness is draining away, we can start looking at the things that we are grateful for. And we can start making a list, and it generally ends up being a very long list. It's a very helpful way to touch joy. At this point, I want to offer flowers to all our French volunteers who've come. So can you put up your hand, or the volunteers who've come to help for the Francophone retreat? Wonderful. Let's offer them flowers for their generosity, of their time, their presence. Thank you so much for coming. And now the last zone I want to talk about today, it's something that the scientists haven't quite caught up with yet. Thai would say that one of the greatest sources of happiness is to have a path. And so during your stay this week, I really hope that you've touched the joy and happiness of having a path. Thai gave us a beautiful calligraphy which goes something like, now that I have a path, there is no longer anything to fear. Now I have a path, there is no longer anything to fear. And to be on a path, to be able to take refuge in a path, is a great happiness. We know there are so many people in the world who are lost, and they don't know where to go or how to live their lives. I remember once a question and answer session with Thai, and a young woman asked Thai, she said that she was feeling a deep despair and just didn't know how to get out of this despair. And what would Thai recommend? So of course we were all on the edge of our seat waiting. What is Thai? What is the response to being in deep despair? And Thai said, the 5 mindfulness trainings. So I know that many of you have... did you receive some of them? Did you receive some of the Spanish people? Maybe you received them this week. You had the opportunity. 40 people in the Spanish Sangha received the 5 mindfulness trainings. And I know that many people in this hall, you've received it other times. And also you had a chance to learn about them, to read them as well. And the 5 mindfulness trainings, they really provide the path for joy and happiness and compassion. And this is the way out of our suffering. The 5 mindfulness trainings, they show us the kind of habits, the good habits we want to build so that we will not go down the path of ill-being. So they are the path that goes towards well-being. We know that there is a great deal of suffering when we feel that our life is not aligned with our core values, when we are having to do work, a job, or when we're in a situation where we feel inside, deep inside, I should not be doing this. I do not feel comfortable doing this with what I'm asked to do. It is a great suffering. It is a lot of violence to ourself. There is this internal dissonance. And so to commit our lives to the 5 mindfulness trainings, even if you haven't formally received them, it is an enormous help for our life, because when we have those questions, as we do in all of our lives, should I do this, should I do that, we can read those trainings and we will find the answer. And so it's a roadmap so that we no longer need to fear. And of course, for all of those who have found this path, we are making a community of resistance. We don't have to feel alone, because when we come together at Plum Village or for other retreats or in your local sangha, we feel we're not alone. We feel we meet the others who are also on this path, and we are coming together as this community of resistance. Because in the world there is a lot of fear and despair, and alone we are like a drop of water and we can evaporate. And so we need to really be within that river of the sangha to feel the support, so that when we're feeling a bit low, a bit weak, we can come to the sangha and recharge our batteries and come back to Plum Village to recharge your batteries. So I will finish my talk now. Thank you so much for your listening, and I encourage you when you leave to go and enjoy the flowers, and also go and look out for the swift nest boxes. You can look up online for how to build them. They have to be a very specific size, otherwise you get the wrong bird. So thank you so much for your attention and your practice.